Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of I Am Christina DiArcangelo. And with me today is one of my favorite friends and colleagues to talk to pretty much on the weekly basis. We text back and forth. If not, we're emailing about something. Matt Ritchey. Thank you, Matt, for joining me today. How are you?
Thank you for having me, Christina. I'm excellent. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. The sun is shining over here in Philadelphia. It's not 150 degrees. We don't have any crazy weather going on today. So everything is good over here. How about yourself?
Well, the sun's always shining here, almost in San Diego. So I'll put that one up there as well. I'm just grateful to be here and have all the opportunities in front of us that we're currently blessed with.
We are very blessed, honestly. We really are. There's so many blessings that we could take out of every day, and the lessons that we learn every day that most people sometimes don't think of, right? They don't think of, even some of the annoyances that we have to deal with, whether it's trying to change your airline ticket or whatever, like I was talking to you about earlier, getting on here today. These kinds of things happen, and it's kind of annoying at the time, but there's always a silver lining in that lesson.
Yeah, there's usually a silver lining, and like I say, there's always one takeaway. There's something there that you can learn from, something you can glean from the chaos or the things that you're not happy about. I love to reframe and like say find that when I'm finding myself very challenged or an angry state. I usually kind of stop, breathe, and say, where's the lesson in here? What am I missing? What am I focused on that I'm not seeing in this space?
I hear you there. It's hard sometimes to do that. I try really hard, But like today I was like, listen, if we can't get this done in 2 minutes, we're going to have to hang up and I'll call you back. I can't, you have to manage your time, and people like us that are all over the place with families, multiple jobs, responsibilities to patients and or otherwise. It's, we've got to juggle, and it's not an easy thing to do, right?
Time is, we only all get the same amount of time. So I found that now being a parent to two young ones, time is more scarce and, less available than ever. And obviously I've always been quite busy with business and everything else I get to do, but it's been taken to that next level with kids and with really scheduling. Specifically over the last 2 years now, with our time being so jumbled, and we're more virtual than in person. And certain ways I have more time, and certain ways I actually have less time. So it's been really interesting to have a sort of a new normal with our time delegation.
And I remember when you first had your second baby, then there was lack of sleep. Right? Because now you have two kids, they have two different sleep cycles, and you need to get as much rest as possible. And so does your wife, because you guys are in this together, and it's not easy. You've got to figure out ways to sneak in some sleep sometimes.
Yeah. I've been a very blessed sleeper my entire life. I think there's multiple factors for that I won't get into in this moment. But in general, I obviously having a kid, my son, he'll be a year in like 2 weeks. So it's been almost a year now since I've had him. But the first 6 months of any kid is like, it's new. So there's a lot of things like say sleep, just like say scheduling time, all those things are completely jumbled. For me personally, I have an Aura ring, so I track everything. And what I really noticed was even the times where I would get less sleep, when I'm able to get, for me, if I don't wear myself out during the day, I don't sleep as well. So when I say wear myself out, am I mentally focused and churning out creative works or working with people on things? Am I getting my physicality on? I found that if I was able to stay completely focused and stay extremely busy in the sense of like, mentally doing things, working, whatever, getting a workout in, whatever that is. I find when I'm able to do that, I'm actually able to sleep, and I'm actually able to get my REM and because we have phases of sleep, and we don't need time of sleep. We need phases of sleep. So what I've found is when I'm able to wear myself out, still continue to do everything I need to do, actually you can get the same amount of sleep and rest in a shorter period of time that I was, maybe sleeping a full 8 hours or whatever that would be. And it's something. Sleep is actually something I played with for the last decade. And at one point in time, I had a really cool sleep schedule. What I only sleep 6 hours a night, and I would take a 20-minute nap every afternoon. That's before I had kids, before I had certain things I had to do at certain times every day, kind of create my own schedule. It's kind of like they call it, the college freshman schedule, where you stay up late, you only get a short amount of sleep, you take a nap in the afternoon. But for me, actually, that worked really well, where I would get 2 REM cycles in the nighttime. And then in the afternoon, that 20-minute nap just gives me, it's almost like splits my day into 2. I would wake up at like 5:36 a.m. And then by like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, I was really kind of hitting that wall. And I take that 15 to 20-minute nap. And it's just like this power nap where I get that second boost of my day from 2 or 3 o'clock on till the nighttime. So for me, sleep has been a journey. There's never been a point where I'm not messing with my sleep in certain things, as far as, ebb and flow. Like maybe there's a couple months or maybe even a year period, but I'm 38 years old. We're always continually evolving and growing, and sleep is probably one of the number one things for growth, for mental clarity, for all the things we need to do as high performing, high functioning humans. Like we have to have sleep. So if you're not getting sleep, or you're finding your sleep to be challenged for whatever reason, kids, business, whatever, take it on, figure out, take on whatever's challenging you, whether it be sleep or whatever else, take it on and figure it out, because it's going to totally improve the rest of your life. It's a trickle down effect for sure. Sleep is one of the main ingredients for a good life. Oh, absolutely.
Thank you for talking so much about sleep, because, that's one of biometric monitoring, and, all those types of things as it relates to data, because, I love data and I love talking about that kind of stuff with people. I have a certain sleep app that I keep on my iPhone that obviously then ports into my Apple Watch and all that stuff. And I tried a bunch of different sleep apps because I want to know, when am I getting my deep sleep? When is it light? I want to understand all that, just like you just spoke about, so that I could figure out what I can do to improve, so that I could get more deep sleep than I was. Because what was happening before was I would get more light sleep than I got deep sleep. And I was tired. I would wake up, I could sleep for 8 hours, if you will, sleep for 8 hours. And I would wake up and I'm exhausted still. Like, why am I still exhausted? And yeah, okay, I have 2 autos, but I take cannabis at night. So what is going on? Like, I don't understand what is going on. And I eat healthy, I exercise. So when I got this app, I've been using it now for 225 days. And I've started messing around similarly to what you were saying, especially when I had COVID. Because when I got COVID in April unexpectedly, because it's not like we want to get COVID, I was sleeping all the time, right? My face is in the pillow all the time. And I felt like after I had COVID, although it was annoying to have COVID and I had to monitor a lot of things, I felt as though I was rested. Because I had gotten so much sleep and I was napping in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
So then after I had COVID, I had to cool my jets, because, CD style, I'm hitting it hard all the time. Like, I'm okay. I'll be fine. Let's go. Well, I had to be patient with myself and really listen to myself, like, oh gosh, I've got to go lay down. So Melissa, who Melissa Frayne, she controls everything about my life, my schedule, everything. She's really the boss. And she would block my calendar for, I think it was 3 weeks, so I could take naps.
Crucial.
Boy.
I don't know too much about your personal, history there, but it sounds like most people I know who are high performing, high functioning entrepreneurs and people like that, who have kids and all that stuff, we're all sleep deprived to a certain degree. Like, we have a sleep debt and a sleep bank. And I'm not a sleep expert, but I've done a lot of study and I've done a lot of personal anecdotes with this. And when we take from that sleep bank over and over for long periods of time, we need to refill that bank, and you can't just do it under normal sleep. You actually need more sleep. So catching up on sleep, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. You're recharging your body. And what I noticed when I come out, here's the thing, you always notice the contrast, because when you're in it, you're like, oh, I'm just not sleeping that great. You're still functioning, you're still doing your thing, you're still being a human, right? But then when you have your sleep, you catch up, so to speak, or you get that sleep bank refilled, you're kind of like, oh, there's another level to this. Like I feel another level better. I feel more vitality. I feel more mental clarity. All these things that come from being a fully rested human being that we're supposed to be. So what I notice is, and most people in the high functioning, entrepreneur world are sleep, deprived, or sleep, have a sleep debt. And Dave Asprey talks a lot about sleep. I follow him and some of the stuff he talks about, biohacking, neurohacking, stuff like that. And sleep, Andrew Huberman is also another great one. If anyone's out there listening for his podcast, he talks about sleep almost exclusively. And it's just, you can't, I'm getting detailed now, like say where I wear my red, frame glasses, or my red lens glasses in the evening now. So I'm not getting any blue light, any red lights, any of the lights coming into my eyeballs for the last 2 to 3 hours of my day, because that's one of the things that keeps people up. That's one of the things that will, so you need to set your body up to sleep. You can't just be watching a screen, then turn it off, and then like lay your head down and go to sleep. You can, but you're not going to get the best sleep. You're not going to be prepared.
Right. Even with your phone, if you just, for everybody that's out there listening or watching us today, there is a way also, at least with the iPhone now. I'm not a Droid user. I have no idea about droids. My God, it's been, 2 decades I've had an iPhone now. I know it seems I'm old, but listen, I need an iPhone because I have multiple companies and I blow up droids. So the iPhone has a setting for nighttime. So your background light. Yep. So if people, you could easily find these glasses that Matt was just talking about. Amazon. Hey, listen, I buy everything on Amazon. You could buy them on Amazon, but if you don't have, if you're waiting for your glasses to come, one thing you could do tonight, is fix your settings in your iPhone, because I don't know about that droid, and make it so that you turn it on for nighttime viewing. So I do it.
I think it's called sleep mode. Night mode, sleep mode, whatever it's called.
Yeah, it's sleep mode.
Background dark and light text as opposed to the opposite.
And do you put a nighttime? Sorry to interrupt, but I have a question to ask you. I have a follow-on question for you. Do you also put like your night time on? So I'm sorry, I call it night because I have a little kid now. My kid's 9, but we used to say it's time for night, Krish. Do you turn on your nighttime settings so that okay, 9 o'clock or whatever time it is that you choose? My side over here, it's 9 o'clock. My little, jingle comes on, my lullaby. DiArc, it's time to slow it down. It's time to drop it. It's time to go to bed. And it's 55 minutes in advance of my time to go to sleep so that I can go, okay, stop. Because for entrepreneurs like ourselves, we get these things and we're excited. Some of these projects, like really excited. And so we just can't stop ourselves. So for me, I've got to go, oh, no. Like I take my RSO at a certain time. I start to wind down. Once the jingle comes on, I'm like, got to lay it down now. It's time to relax. What do you do?
I love that. I don't do that, but I love that. I feel like in the evening times, I'm very much a morning person. So my creative energy, my mental clarity, everything is super high until about like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And I start, careening, if you will. So for me personally, I'm almost always checked out of work by like 5 p.m. at the latest. And from there, I'm in family mode. So for me, I do a few things maybe in the evening time as far as a few messages or maybe an email here and there. But in general, I don't almost ever at this point sit down and do work sessions in the evening. But what I hear you saying is like just to get off your phone, not even necessarily work, but just to get off your phone. So for me, like I don't really watch any TV shows. So my wife will potentially put something on in the evening and whatever, but I don't just sit there and like get on a screen in the evening. So, our kids are a little younger, but they're basically asleep by 8 o'clock, 8:30 the latest. From there, I'm just like cleaning up my day, and then I'm basically asleep by 10, or I'm in bed by 10. So like I don't have a lot of extra time. And at that point, like I said, I basically at this point have a routine where, like say, I'm off my phone or off my work mindset at around 5 o'clock, and then I don't really jump back into that until the morning time. So I get what you're saying, and I love the idea of if you find yourself, even if it's a good excitement, right? Hey, I'm like so excited to get this done. We need to have contrast. We need to have breaks. Like as entrepreneurs, especially if you're working from home, you have to set up time for work. You have to set up time for whatever, personal pleasure, family, whatever you're calling that. And if you don't have that break, if everything kind of blends together, not only will your personal time or the people in that space feel it and not feel as connected to you or not feel like you're as present with them, but also your work. I mean, here's the thing: we as entrepreneurs, we are the head of the spear. We're everything for our businesses, and if we're always thinking about them, we don't have any contrast of not thinking about them. So it sounds silly, but it's actually beneficial to not work on your business or not think about your business for long periods of time. I say long periods, maybe 12 hours, right?
You're right. No,
yeah. So reset your brain, reset your mind on how you even see things when you come back to a problem new and it's fresh, and you've had rest, or you've had your pleasure, or whatever.
You stepped away. You stepped away from it, and it's right here. It's still here. It's not like you're ignoring the problem. It's still right here in your passenger seat, right? But you're stepping away and you're giving yourself time to reset yourself.
Totally. Yeah, and that's what I find. Even mostly people who are super creative, they don't spend long periods of time on anything. They work like a lion,
Yep.
You run, you sprint, you do your thing, and then you rest.
Right.
You run, you sprint, you do your thing, and then you rest. So people who are grazing, cow-like, eating, working like that works for some people in certain businesses. And I'm not saying you should never do that. And the high performers, the people who create and do things at the highest level, they don't work like that. They work like plans. They work in sprints, and then they rest. Yep.
Well, that's how I work all the time.
I'm not surprised. You're a lioness as much as anyone else. So
because you know why? Because of all these companies, right? So I could be working on APA, right? Talking to, like we were talking about earlier, talking to a diabetic neuropathy patient, which is both companies really, because ABP, well, all three. Spectral's doing the electronic data capture and the ePro. Affinity Bio Partners is the CRO in charge from a regulatory and management standpoint, and working on behalf of the sponsor with the authorities and the sites and stuff. But then, and also trying to recruit the patients, but then APA is talking to the patients, actually talking to the patients. So I get in, get out, get in, get out, get in, get out all day long.
Yeah. And here's the thing. We weren't set up that way. School was not meant that way. You go, you sit desk for 8 hours and you graze your work, and it's just different. So, I have young kids. I don't know what you're doing for schooling for your kid. We can talk about that later. But either way, I feel like the way we've set up our kids to learn and to think and to work, so to speak, has not been super beneficial. And personally, I'm going to change that for our kids as far as how they work, how they view work, how they view their time in general. All those things are very unique in the sense of the way we've been taught. When I say we, I mean the government, the school system,
society.
Yeah, it's not set up for our winning. It's basically set up to create worker bees. And
yeah, and so someone like myself and my son, because I've talked about this in public before, so I'm not, and I'm his mama anyway. But Christian has ADHD. And I have ADHD, obviously. And, a lot of times, especially when I was growing up in the school district, and I went to public school because we didn't have a lot of money. We couldn't pay to go to private school. My brother and I went to public school. I would get in trouble because I couldn't sit still, because my mind, it works really fast. And it's always been like this ever since I was a kid. Boom, boom. And I talk about things, I shift fast. And that's just how my brain works. And when I grew up, that was not acceptable. I was disorganized. I had bad handwriting. I did well scholastically. I graduated top 10% of my class. But I couldn't sit in my seat. I was too talkative, all these negative connotations that now look at CD, right? I talk all the time. I'm all over the place. People don't view me as being scattered because I also say out loud, listen, I'm ADHD and I'm proud to be ADHD, because if I wasn't, I wouldn't get half of what I get done in a day. So it is part of my cape I put on every day, so to speak. It's in me to be like this. It should not be derogatory for our children.
No, I think, I agree 100%. Here's the thing, whatever these are all labels. It's all semantics, right?
Right.
If you have ADHD, okay, what does that mean? You have a high motor, you have a high drive. I think about sports. You think about people who talk about, when you think about skilled people, like, oh no, he has a high motor, he has a high drive. Like, those are the people you want. Those are the people who don't stop, the people who are just relentless, who have basically no one's built or born with a certain mindset per se, but there's certain DNA and certain wirings of certain people that are just they're just more innate towards that way. It's more of their human design, right? I don't want to get into human design, all that, but it's just more of who they are,
right?
Right. And you're one of those people, right? And we call that ADHD. We've created this technical term and whatever, and that's great in the sense of like giving people some clarity and some tools, right? But what I'm getting at is that we don't need to stigmatize. There's no like, oh, it's better. It's just different. It's just, hey, I'm a high motor. I'm a high functioning, high motor person. Okay, great. Well, how can I function that? How can I funnel that and focus that in the most productive ways? That's where I think we've been challenged as a society, as opposed to funneling and channeling that focus. We've dumbed it down and given medication to numb them out and tell them to slow down and sit down and listen.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that's extremely detrimental to those types of people who they're doing that to. That's my personal opinion.
That's exactly right. And I worked on ADHD pharmaceutically. Well, you're probably no surprise, right? In my career, I've worked on one of the blockbuster ones, and I saw the side effect profiles and all that stuff. And I saw the data, and, everybody has right now that it's been approved by the FDA. And I think even now there may be a generic out there. So that's how long it's been. We're talking like before 2005 when I worked on this. So me having ADHD, obviously, I'm not taking traditional pharma products to numb myself. And my son, they want, of course, ADHD, tested for ADHD, conflict disorder, opposition defiant disorder, anxiety. Here's some pills. He needs to start taking these pills. And I'm like, have you lost your mind? Because he's not taking these pills, because he's not going to take something that's going to speed him up, like an illegal drug, so to speak. Right. No, thank you. I'm not doing that. So, I ended up formulating a patch, through Avum, and I formulated multiple patches. And I found that the best patch that helped Krish, and I won't say which one it is because I don't want to make a false claim and get a 483 in the mail. There's one that's not even ADHD specific, but it's the cannabinoids that I utilized, isolate, with the terpenes in there, gave him the bump he needed, and it helps keep him stabilized. Now, for me, I can't take that one, right? I wear a different patch than he wears, because I have different things wrong with me, because we have different endocannabinoid systems. So
there's nothing wrong with you, by the way.
No, there's nothing wrong. But you know what I'm saying? Like, like everybody wants to like label. Everybody wants to label.
I always love language, because the way we speak says a lot of what we think or what we believe, right?
Right.
And I always love to like just point out certain language of like, hey, like, that's not true, or is that really true? And like,
right,
challenge our beliefs in certain ways. So.
And that helps. You know what? It's funny that you brought that up, because I just had a mental health interview get published about corporate mental health and how we need to do better. And we're obviously of a different corporate profile than others, right? That we work against or along with, or whatever you want to say. Different, like big corporations I'm talking about. We pay attention to mental health and with our staff and our team members and who we work with, even our teams, especially, I should say, you, because one of the things I love about you, and I'm going to go back to this mental health thing that I don't want you to think I'm missing this point. I want to talk about the gratitude thing, but I also want to go back to that point that you just made, because it's really important for patients with anxiety, I believe. Anyway, you always focus on gratitude. When I see your name pop up on my phone, I think of gratitude immediately. We talked about this before you came on. You always try to look at the bright side. So when you made that statement about it's how you message things and how you say things and your language that you use, and then is this really true or not? When a patient has anxiety and they're cycling through something at the time, and like whatever it is that's wrong and it's really bothering them, a lot of times what they don't do is pause and go, is this information correct? Is it true or false? What's the probability of this being true? Is there anything to support the statement, to cause validity to that? We have a tendency, I believe, in society to not stop and do that pause and go, hold on a second. Is this really true? If you did that, you would then go, no, this is not true. There are no pink panda bears in New Jersey. Everything's going to be okay. Because, I always go, it's like trying to find a pink panda bear in New Jersey when I'm talking about patient recruitment. That's why I always say that. But you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I think the language we use around ourself, our other people, it's literally speaks languages or speaks volumes of how and what we believe. And if you want to know what you believe, just listen to yourself, and listen to how you speak to yourself specifically. If you're always, like say, your mental state, the words you're saying is a good reflection of where you're at mentally, where your belief system's at. So what I like to do is reframe things. We mentioned this, I think, a little bit earlier around, it's not always what happens to you, it's how you react to it. And it's your trigger points. And I love being a gratitude or trigger gratitude for you, that every time you hear my name or you see my face or you see my text, you're kind of like, oh, what am I grateful for today? Or where it kind of opens up this expansion of possibilities. So for me, that's just something I love doing for people because gratitude rewires your brain. There's studies showed, I don't have them offhand here, but there's studies shown that I don't know the time periods either. I've been doing gratitude for about a decade, so it's fully rewired my brain. But I literally felt the difference in less than a year of doing daily gratitude. And I would wake up and do gratitude. I would do gratitude before I went to bed. But it just really rewires your brain to focus on things that are positives. Because our brain, you're probably familiar with the RAS, right? The reticulating activating system. Whatever you put in there for it to see, it searches for more of it. So if you are focused on the negative, if you're feeling that certain way, your body, your RAS, everything is going to search out that experience. And when you do that, that's the loops, right? When we get into these, depression, whatever you want to call it, these loops of, energy, essentially. And what you get to do as a human being, we get to break these cycles and or set up the RAS to work in our favor, right? Yep. We want to search out the positive. I want to search out, even if I'm having an argument with somebody, I want to search out the good in the person. I want to search out their intention. What is their intent? They're not intending to hurt.
No.
To do bad things. Most people are not intending to do bad things, right?
No.
So it's good to be able to reframe and really have that RAS searching for what's the benefit for me. Because here's the thing, we can focus on the negative, but what does that get you? It's not really going to get you very far. It can get you in a state of feeling superior if you're in an argument, or it can get you in a state of feeling really negative. But in general, when we focus on things that are, disempowering or negative, have a lower vibration, whatever we want to call it, it's just bringing you into that energy. So if you're able to reframe and switch and have something bring you into a higher vibration, a higher positive feeling and thinking, I always say it's feel good, do good. If you feel good, you're going to do good things. If you're thinking good thoughts, you're going to feel good. So start that chain reaction of thinking more positively, feeling better, and then essentially doing better things in your world.
That is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with everybody. Only because we're at the end of our time. And I could talk to you forever about this because, this always resonates with me because we talk about a lot of this stuff, you and I privately as friends, and I think it's really important that you shared this today with everyone, because I'd like for people to see that it's not just me or other people. There's so many of us that are part of this ecosystem of life that feel this way. And if you can try and find more of those types of people in your life, just think about how much happier you would be. Like, I'm happy to have you as my friend, like truly.
Exactly. That's why we are friends, in the sense of, and that's where we go to. When you are feeling positive, you will attract more positive experiences in people. Guess what? If you're feeling negative and you're being, just victim mentality, all those things, I personally feel that energy when I meet people, and I don't want to be around those people.
No.
I love them. I wish the best for them, but I don't want to put them in my sphere because they're taking up my energy and they're going to be contributing to my energy. So when you're surrounding yourself with people who are, listen, we're not all high vibration all the time, but it's all about, hey, like, is this person continually improving? Is he or she willing to, be coachable or look at something? Can I have a conversation with them? Or they just always bring me into their energy and bring me down? There's a lot of people like that, unfortunately. And, we as entrepreneurs get to pick who we work with, and I'm very fortunate to be able to pick the people I work with, attract these high level people, these high achievers, people who are such as yourself. I knew people who are way less successful than you, who are way more rigid minded, way less coachable, way less happy. Essentially, when you're choosing people you're going to spend time around, make sure you're choosing people who are going to uplift you. A rising tide lifts all ships, or it can sink all ships. So when you're picking, like I say, they tell you the 5 people you spend the most time with is who you become. So be careful who you spend the most time with, and be sure that we're very lucky. We're entrepreneurs. We can essentially choose who we work with. Make sure that you're surrounding yourself with positive people. Make sure that, I know when I meet somebody and they're in victim mentality and they're, not in a space of, being empowered or coaching or anything like that, where they just feel like they're just fully going down this way. I send them love and I hope them well, but in general, I don't surround myself with those people. And the more you can do that, not only the happier you'll be, but the more successful and the more flow. And that's something we didn't even talk about this whole thing, but flow. How do you find flow? Well, one of the ways is to surround yourself with amazing people who are up to big things, be in consistent action, and just follow the intuition of yourself and the universe to find these opportunities and whatever the next level is for you and your business.
I love that. Thank you so much, Matt, for sharing that with us and giving us that last bit of tidbit before we end the show. Thank you again for being on with me.
I appreciate it. Love you, Christina.
I love you too. So with all that being said, as we say in every show, remember, we are the same. I am Christina DiArcangelo. Thank you.